Okay, we are ready to go. Einen schönen guten Nachmittag. Welcome from Bonn World Conference Center here in the room. Everyone welcome, but also virtually whoever is joining. We are delighted to have the opportunity to organize the event Data, Digital Innovation, Culture and Resources for Youth and Citizens Climate Action Empowerment. So the co-organizers of today's event are IAAI GYDI, the International Association for the Advancement of Innovative Approaches to Global Challenges, then the Institute of Environmental Management and Assessment, IEMA, University of Massachusetts, Lowell, the Climate Change Coalition, Joanneum Research Life Program, and Global Youth Development Institute. So the topic, the title of the event is very long, very many words. Let me briefly unpack it for you. So our key message here is that in order to make real progress in Paris Agreement implementation, we need to change our priorities, our approaches, and our theory of change is telling us that youth and citizens climate action empowerment is the key to success. This is the transformative potential, and the other elements of the title say that we believe that data, digital innovation, digital tools, culture, and different types of resources, be it financial resources, intellectual resources, capacity building, and this is all the formula to success for the whole UNFCCC process, for the global climate action ambitions. And we are here, the core of this event is the digital innovation community, which has formed around the Climate Change Coalition, the world's leading network of organizations looking on how to use blockchain technology for climate action. And we've had already last week a networking event at the premises of the GYDI, the German Development Cooperation. And now we are coming here to show our solutions, our thinking, our potentials, and connect it with the process here, with the people and their needs, so that we will really have impactful solutions. Brief background about our endeavors with Climate Change Coalition. It was founded 2017 and was then co-founded by the UN Climate Change Secretariat and full-heartedly supported with partners like Alexei. We've had the first blockchain for climate exhibit at the COP28. It was here in Bonn. And we've been then at the COP25 in Madrid, where we said, let's be broader, not only blockchain, but also in general the digital innovation community. Stephen Haft is today with us from Ethereum. He was there as well, and we are providing this space and these opportunities for connecting the digital solution providers with the UNFCCC process. Last year, we've had for the first time our own pavilion at the COP27, the Digital Innovation and Digital Art for Climate Pavilion. And we think that COP28 is now our big window of opportunity, where this kind of potential, this kind of approach like we have will help to make COP28 a big success. And we have different conversations and preparatory activities with partners in the UAE, with partners in Slovenia. We have secured our space for the Digital Innovation Pavilion in the Expo City. Climate Change Coalition, 360 members, more than 360, really wide global coverage. And my organization, IAAI, is an observer organization in the UNFCCC process based in Klagenfurt in Austria. And we are building the Global Challenges Action Empowerment Ecosystem GYDI with culture, technology, and organizational innovation, with the vision to empower everyone everywhere to make meaningful and regarding climate action. And yeah, the vision is that there will be a competence center, a multi-stakeholder partnership that will build the data and digital innovation ecosystem and the tools for citizens and youth climate action empowerment. And one key initiative that my organization has is Digital Art for Climate, where we bring the new visions of desirable futures and the social energy, the hard power of the creative community and young artists to the UNFCCC process and turn these artworks into non-fungible tokens, really creating uniquely identifiable digital assets and managing them in a way that we can use it for resource mobilization, but also as the basis for developing it further in a system where each action of citizens or young people in particular can be documented and uniquely identified, verified and registered in a global registry, so that with this kind of tool, blockchain-enabled tool, we will have then the means to reward people for what they are doing, and that young people, citizens, can become microclimate entrepreneurs based on this technology. And because technology adoption is difficult, but with artwork, we believe that we can take the people, the ordinary people on our journey and bring this also to schools. Yeah, some highlights, this initiative, Digital Art for Climate. We have had today a press conference where we've announced the plans for this year. The theme will be co-creating the future. We will have a big festival in Austria between, no, not so big, between the 13th and 20th of August, about 25 people, team members and partners. We will work on the further details of the competition and then start it in a public event on the 19th. And we will have a conference and exhibit at the UN headquarters in New York in September. We will present the Digital Art for Climate Entertainment Hub at GYDI's Impact. There's a big tech show in Dubai in October, and at the Future Blockchain Summit. And yeah, we will have also stories in the metaverse. Today will tell us something. We are working on Citizen Climate Action Up and several resource mobilization initiatives. Our slogan, our vision is that there will be an individual climate action dashboard app, a white labeled one where each organization, city, NGO, company can have it for its networks and its outreach, where people will be able to get guidance on what kind of decisions to make and to document their actions. And we are working on a global registry for climate action, documentation, and registration. We have an EU project in the Interreg Central Europe program, Just Energy Transition for Central Europe. There we are developing a global challenges mapping tool, which is our way of structuring data gathering on citizens' climate action data and local climate action potentials, documentation. And another project is the Interreg, in the Interreg Slovenia-Austria program, the Citizens Climate SEAT project with Tadej Slapnik, who I'm now asking to take the floor to say a few words about what are the perspectives of Slovenian solution providers and partners for climate action and COP28.
Thank you, Miroslav. Greetings to everybody. As Miroslav already explained, we are really proud that we are partnering with GLOCA at Interreg project Slovenia, Austria. Company Probit and city Velenje joined the initiative to build and to develop a platform to incentivize citizens on their concrete engagement fighting climate change. So hopefully we will be successful with the application, and we will develop this cross-border solution that we would like, of course, to go and to develop it on international level. I will also mention World Metaverse Council, where Miroslav is also one of the founding members and leading the working group for sustainability, where we, together with the partners, on the basis of a flagship initiative from last year, COP conference, regional COP conference in Dubai, where we initiated initiative to develop first ever metaverse for COP conference. We developed this solution, and last year in Egypt at COP27, in collaboration with GLOCA and Climate Change Coalition, we actually organized for the first time side event in metaverse for COP conference. For this year, we are building Meta COP28, where we are including more countries, more cities, and more organizations, of course, with the main goal to develop inclusive solution for collaboration on global scope, with the focus particularly on youngsters. We know that metaverse solutions are widely used mostly by young people, so we believe that with the Meta COP28, we will be able, of course, to include them globally, and of course, have the possibility to collaborate with the solution which is really CO2 with low CO2 impact. So to conclude, thank you, Miroslav, for your collaboration. Thank you all partners of Climate Change Coalition. We are looking forward to our collaboration.
Thank you very much, Tadej, for being such a great leader, for using blockchain for the SDGs in Slovenia, and connecting globally and bilaterally on this topic. So next on our list of speakers, partners, is Tim Damon, Global Youth Development Institute. We are working together since COP22, Marrakesh, when you have been younger focal point, and your systemic approaches are very well aligned with our vision as well.
Yes, thank you, Miroslav. It is indeed a pleasure, all the collaboration that we've had, and I appreciate how you are bringing together all of these partners outside of my own expertise. You know, I'm not at all the tech digital expert, but I will say I'm an expert when it comes to action for climate empowerment and youth-led climate action, and how they meaningfully engage in these processes and make all this work at the ground level. And that's where there are these many systemic challenges that we see which impede youth-led climate action. There's a lack of access to finance, to institutional structures. You know, it's not easy to even necessarily create an NGO or have the civil society space in a lot of the countries where young people are trying to do this work. You know, difficulty having access to political processes to have their voices heard. So there's many of these challenges, but we see the progress now as we're building up with all of the digital innovation and these technologies to have some progress in this landscape. So, for example, if we have these avenues by which we are able to better identify and track and reward youth-led climate actions, that can help to solve some of the gaps in terms of building the confidence of potential investors or sponsors, those who can support those initiatives, to have the confidence to do so. Because one of those barriers is that, you know, youth NGOs tend to be less formal, less experienced. If a potential donor has a very rigorous set of standards for compliance and accountability, that may be an unsurmountable barrier for a lot of youth organizations, or the scale of the money is so small that it doesn't even register on the radar for big philanthropies or these organizations. So again, if digital technologies can help us to scale that finance flow down to that smallest grassroots level, that can really unlock a lot of potential that otherwise the system is just ignoring and relegating to voluntary work or not even being feasible. And in this light, it was also very encouraging that we had last week the meeting, which Miroslav also convened over at the GIZ headquarters on digital innovation, where there were a lot of other really good discussions that we had around some of these same issues and how we can move forward on them. So certainly really looking at this systemic level of how do we link all of these pieces so that young people will really be able to realize their full potential for climate action, because we know they have the passion, we know they have the new ideas, but they also have the ability to be the innovators, the entrepreneurs, whether that's in a business sense or a policy sense or cultural transformation sense, any of these different areas, but they really need the help. And that's where these intergenerational partnerships, such as I've enjoyed with Miroslav and all of his colleagues, are really so critical. And so if we can get all of us together on the same page, then I think we really are going to be able to make that breakthrough difference that we need, that we won't accomplish our goals by 2030 if we don't figure that out. So thank you again, Miroslav, everyone. Always happy to be learning from all of you on all these tools and how we utilize them.
Wonderful, thanks, and also happy to learn from you. The next on our agenda is Dr. Arvid Bhomik. He has a very interesting initiative. He's environmental scientist and climate solutionist.
Thank you, and hello everyone. I'm really happy to be here.
So, Center for Research and Sustainable Societal Transformation from Karlstad University, and he's going to present a concrete example, the long game on how digital tools and innovative climate action learning approaches and structuring approaches can help to build the mass movement for climate action. So now let's go full screen, and Dr. Arvid, please.
Thank you, and hello everyone. I'm really happy to be here and talk about this important topic. I'm Arvid Bhomik. I'm the research director of Center for Research on Sustainable Societal Transformation at Karlstad University, Sweden. And I'm representing here a project called The Long Game that we initiated during COP27. So I would like to quickly introduce you to the Long Game team. So we got Mark McCaffrey, who is based in France now, who is the founder of ECOS at the UN Climate Change Community. Then we got Michel Vartanian, who is currently involved with the UNFCCC processes, but also a global markets technology expert. I myself and Juliet Rooney-Vargra, who is a professor of MIT Lowell and the director of Climate Change Initiative, who are developing simulations and also applying them for the educational purposes, not only at schools, but also across political sphere. So we really need rapid transformation to achieve the goals of the Paris Agreement and also to limit global warming by 1.5 degrees Celsius. And so we are looking at the photo of Easter Parade at the Manhattan Street, which are 13 years apart. So in the left picture, you see that is no car, combustion engine cars, whereas in the right side, there is no horse wagon. Just within the matter of 13 years, a transformation system that has been evolving over hundreds of years has qualitatively transformed from a horse wagon-based system to a combustion engine-based system. So this is the type of transformation and rapid transformation and qualitative change that we are looking for to achieve the goals of the Paris Agreement. Now, what could lead to that? So research that me and colleagues led in 2020 shows that there are 6 interventions that can come from the political spheres, particularly from the political spheres, that can lead to such rapid transformation. And one of them is education and engagement. And that's exactly I would like to talk to you about today. Another piece of research that we also published in 2020 that shows that there is a climate action sweet spot at the communities to city scale comprising 10,000 to 100,000 people. That we looked at a range of climate solutions, 80 climate solutions developed by Project Drawdown, and we found that 80% of the climate solutions can be implemented at the scale of the sweet spot, and that can already lead to half of the emissions reductions targeted in the Paris Agreement. And we found that education can be a fantastic entry point because at schools we have the infrastructure in place in order to hit this climate action sweet spot to lead to this transformation at scale. The second reason why we are advocating for education is something we call active hope. What Joanna Macy put it beautifully, being hopeful by actively engaging into projects that you choose for. So we know that there is a generation left with climate trauma, eco-anxiety that don't see any future. So we would like to help them by actively engaging them into climate action projects. So our target is that we would transform the schools into living labs through climate education. And finally, something that our colleague Juliet from the En-ROAD simulation lab found out, that actually gamification can lead to such transformation, such self-efficacy. So they have been testing that across the world with the politicians, with the schools, and what they found, that people immediately feel the agency that they can be part of this transformation, at the same time get into this active engagement with these climate action projects. And so we took this granted. So eventually that's what we are after. So what is Long Game about is basically a game that can transform the discourse of climate action. So you want to have an app or a digital technology that would foster that game, inform the schools and the students, at the same time transform them by giving them hope, healing their trauma, into the engagement into the climate action projects. And so we are really working together with the Digital Innovation Hub, Community Digital Art Initiative, and the UNICEF and Greening Education Partnership. So we hope to take it forward, and our current focus is on actually to identify this 100,000 communities comprising 100,000 people. So breaking down the 10 billion people that will inhabit this planet by 2050, and then intervening at those goals, using them as an entry point through this game, the long game. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Arvid, and it's really a very high potential initiative, and we are looking forward to working to join forces also at our festival. Dr. Arvid has said he will join us there, and this kind everybody sees that we need an app. We need a cities app. We need organizational apps, and we have to collaborate that in the background, at the bottom of it, there will be a shared data architecture for reporting individual climate action and for evaluation and registration. And now I'm delighted to welcome Sarah Mukherjee and Martin Baxner from the Institute of Environmental Management and Assessment. We are happy that we are this year for the first time jointly organizing this side event. And please tell us more about skills development, capacity building, and the areas in which you are leading.
Thank you so much, Mira. And yes, hello to everybody and hello to colleagues. What a great set of presentations we've heard so far. So I shall be kicking off, and then Martin will be following up with two, I promise you, very short and sweet presentations. So I am speaking from a sweltering, well, this is what we call in the UK sweltering anyway, it's about 25 degrees, but for early summer, that's really hot in the UK. And I was very aware when I was putting some thoughts together for this presentation that before too long, many of us will be traveling to the United Arab Emirates for COP28, held in a year which has already seen record-breaking temperatures across Europe and Southeast Asia. And of course, when the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC, has recently and urgently reminded decision makers that time was really running out to make a difference on reducing greenhouse gases. Now, we all know that living a low carbon life is sometimes difficult and complex. How those words, we are traveling to the COP later this year, just crystallize it, don't they? And I've personal experience of speaking with people across the world in minoritized communities who sometimes feel that they are being nagged or hectored or told what to do. And as we heard from our previous speaker, that sometimes there's a lot of anxiety and hopelessness about the future. But there is another way of viewing the transition to a low carbon society, and that is through the prism of sustainable, high value and highly skilled jobs that every single country is going to need in their economy and their infrastructure in order to make this shift that we're all talking about, the jobs that will bring economic value and prosperity and zero carbon to communities around the world. So we all know that these jobs are vital. But in our opinion, there's often a lack of clarity which goes as far as magical thinking from policymakers when it comes to how these jobs are going to be delivered. For example, we're going to need thousands more electricians to put in all the EV charging points we're going to need for low carbon cars. We'll need thousands more doctors to be trained in appropriate medicine and skills to meet the demands of a climate exhausted population. And we're going to need more foresters and farmers who can be skilled in regenerative forms of agriculture and forestry to replace what we have been taking year and after year from the planet. So unless we get the skills and training in place, we are not going to have these jobs. And despite the fact that businesses often put skills and training right at the top of what they're asking for from governments, the subject doesn't seem to be sufficiently sexy, if you like, to be a priority for many policymakers. So we at IEMA are urging the delegates at COP28 to come together and make sure that the need for a rapid expansion of skills and training in sustainable practices is added to the final cover text of the meeting. We're doing this because we think this would give a really clear signal to businesses and industrial sectors that policymakers get it. They recognise that training and skills need to be delivered at pace, and this will underpin the green revolution. It will also help people with climate anxiety and worry find practical and sustainable solutions in jobs that can be immensely rewarding wherever you're doing them and however you're doing them. So that's our ask. Overall, I'll now hand over to Martin to give you a little bit more of our detail. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, and hello everybody. It's wonderful to be sharing the platform with so many distinguished speakers and really enjoying the content. A couple of things that I want to do. Firstly, we're involved in something called Green Jobs Delivery Group, where we are creating momentum behind whole economy transition to one which is green, but also understanding what this means in terms of jobs and skills. And I think there are some interesting learning points from that process in order to mobilize many millions of people into that skills development program so that they can meet the demand that Sarah has and others have just been outlined. I think for us, we see, firstly, a big growth potential in green jobs, but we also recognise that actually reskilling the whole of the workforce is going to be absolutely critical if we're going to make this transition. Well over 80% of the current workforce for 2030 is already in employment, and they're going to have to do something different if we're going to succeed in our transition to rapidly reduce emissions and become more resilient to a changing climate. And so understanding what that means in practice is really important. Secondly, at a national level, it's really important to have that data to understand what's happening in labour markets, and many countries aren't in a position to be able to understand what's happening in terms of supply and demand of people going into green jobs. And it's very difficult to measure transitions in terms of skills acquisition for people who are already in work. So that's a challenge. We see a real need for the alignment of both climate policies at national level and skills development. So if hydrogen is part of the solution in some parts of the world, then it takes quite a long time to develop a workforce that is skilled and competent and capable of dealing with hydrogen-based fuel carriers and the deployment of that technology, similarly with carbon capture and storage, but also in terms of, like Sarah said, having sufficient number of people with electrotechnical capability if we're going to rapidly move away from fossil fuels and become more dependent on renewables and electrification of heat and cooling as well as mobility. So for us, we see this as being absolutely critical. We also see a really important transition in terms of places and communities and workforces which are highly dependent on fossil fuels and understanding what a just transition means. For us, we see 4 shifts that are underway already, and this is built on some of the work that we did with the consultancy Deloitte on a green workforce transformation. I'll perhaps at the end, I'll put a link to this report into the chat. So firstly, we see a massive growth in the role of sustainability specialists in organizations. We see demand outstripping supply, and one of the concerns that we have is around the competence of people who are developing those strategies in organizations. But we're certainly seeing that boards are increasingly requiring sustainability to be properly integrated into their corporate strategy and understanding what that means in terms of delivery. Secondly, and crucially, we're seeing the growth of environment and climate considerations into all job roles. And for that, we're seeing whether it's in procurement, whether it's in logistics, whether it's in product design, whether it's in finance, then there's a big upskilling that's required within firms. And I think one of the things that's really important is that whereas general awareness raising is helpful, very quickly you move to understand that actually bespoke and very specific training and support is required, because the needs to embed climate change throughout, for example, engineering design, in terms of life cycle assessment, material choices, the way in which a product might be used in a use phase and at the end of its life, is very different than that might be required, for example, for planning logistics, or indeed for procurement processes. So understanding what that skills acquisition needs to be is really important. Transition plans for people in those communities which are dependent on fossil fuels, many of them have critical skills which are going to be needed in a cleaner, greener, sustainable economy, and also harnessing that is going to be a really important driver in terms of having the capability to transition. And then finally, there's the development and acquisition of new skills in jobs that aren't here at the moment, but will be needed as part of that transition. In our work, we developed a framework for organizations to understand both their own internal capability, but also across different job families, be able to plan in terms of their knowledge and understanding the skills that are required in a particular role, the behaviors that might need to change in order to fulfill that, and the competencies across a whole suite of different activities for organizations to be able to plan this. And we've seen this now starting to be deployed in major companies, including in food and drink, where their understanding of the granularity that's needed in terms of that workforce development is starting to bear real dividends, but is also actually transforming the way in which their workforce is thinking about things. The final point, and it was really kind of good to hear about gamification for young people. Actually, we're engaged with an incredibly large company who is developing a whole series of micro credentials in terms of video content. So it's called Stickerbook, and it's about encouraging people to go on that learning journey in many different ways in their own time with content that's relevant to them. And you can tell by looking at me that I'm kind of moving towards the end of my career, but actually the way in which, well, thank you, Sarah, that's very kind. But I think the way in which we see younger people who are entering the workforce, the way in which they learn and acquire knowledge and understanding and capability is changing rapidly. And therefore we have to adapt the ways in which we build capacity and capability in workforces with the learning tools that are relevant, not relevant to how I might have learned in the past. So we're incredibly excited by the transition and the opportunity. We think it's absolutely essential that greater attention is placed both at national level in terms of that focus on green jobs and green skills and the structures that are needed to really embed that across the economy of every country under the Paris Agreement, but also crucially to give support to organizations to be able to embed this in a real practical sense in terms of toolkits and content so that they can accelerate forward. So thank you very much for your time. I'm conscious that there's a very packed schedule, and it's been wonderful to be able to share our insights with you.
Thank you very much, Sarah and Martin, and thanks for your great work that they are doing in building in the skill sets for the workforce for the big transition, big transformation that is needed. And now another great partner and friend, Alexei Shadrin, Evercity.io, and Climate Change Coalition Digital Finance Team Leader. Please tell us how you are empowering youth and citizens and how you are building the data and digital innovation infrastructure for climate action.
Thank you so much, Miroslav. Hi, everyone. So my digital innovations for climate journey started here 6 years ago in Bonn at the COP28 climate conference, where we met with Miroslav, with Tom Baumann, with Joseph Pelland, some of the other players. We started a climate change coalition, which united the early stage climate innovators. And so 6 years passed, right? A lot has changed. First, everyone thought we're crazy, and we're trying to, kind of bring something dangerous to the global agenda and climate, and maybe something harmful for the climate. But we had people who believed in us in the Secretariat, and 6 years showed that we were actually right, that digital solutions is a huge enabler for the climate change mitigation and adaptation and broader UN SDG agenda, and can solve a lot of problems, help us raise financing to reach the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and meet the targets for the Paris Agreement. So this is now not being questioned. And during the 6 years, we were not just resting. We were doing very active work, and we've been developing the digital infrastructure, doing pilots in various countries, meeting other people and stakeholders, showcasing them what digital innovations can do. And right now, what we can say is that digital innovations not only can save the climate and prove that, but also they're creating a lot of jobs and a lot of opportunities for citizens and youth. And recently, I was invited to the Jungo reception at the Bonn Rathaus, and it was great to see that there are more young people year by year engaged in the negotiation process, in the climate process. But there was something a bit disappointing that I found out, that many young people from many countries around the globe, they referred to the grant funding that they kind of rely on to attend the climate conference, to do their projects. And what I want to say is that grant funding is great. But right now, digital technologies are giving you guys and girls and all the others the opportunity to be more actively engaged in climate change mitigation and adaptation, and get sustainable sources of funding by using sustainable finance. I mean, carbon credits, carbon forwards, green debt instruments, the combination of those, biodiversity credits. So we're now living in very exciting times where digital technologies are starting to get wider adoption, and they give opportunity for you to innovate, to start your ventures, to unleash your entrepreneurial spirit, and not only get the financing needed for you to travel to the climate conference and Dubai and beyond that, and connect with like-minded people from around the globe, but truly make your home countries, make the places where you live a better place and more sustainable. And this is what actually digital innovations bring to the table. So they create jobs, they create opportunities for you to become entrepreneurs and get sustainable sources of funding. And I'm not talking only about climate finance, I'm talking about gaming, I'm talking about education, I'm talking about many, many other things. So you should be aware of that. And you're welcome to contact us at the Climate Change Coalition personally in LinkedIn, or going to our website, our social networks, looking at what is going on, what's happening, and we will be happy to assist you in bringing those digital technologies to your cities, to your towns and villages, to your regions, and helping you to establish and deploy them, being the main beneficiaries of that. Because we strongly believe at the Climate Change Coalition that digital technologies, it's not another tool to control the world by corporations or nations. It's a tool to enable very active citizen climate action and youth climate action. And we will be happy if you will engage into that, and we're here to assist. So thank you so much, and let's talk, let's meet at COP and innovate together.
Bravo, thank you very much, Alexei. Yeah, it's really, okay, if it's a quick ad hoc comment.
Just a quick,
If you come closer and use the microphone. Now it should work, quickly.
sorry, just a quick comment. How is it possible for you to have an event that has youth in the title, and for the first 45 minutes, it has mostly been, sorry, I don't want to, you know, offend anyone, but how is it possible to have an event that has youth in the title, is all about youth empowerment, and for the first 45 minutes, it's all about not young people telling young people how to get involved, how to, I don't know.
Tim Damon is a Global Youth Development Institute. You didn't notice him?
Oh, I did very much notice him, but I still would like to maybe just note that I think it would be very helpful, especially at these sorts of conferences, if you want to include youth perspectives, to give them a proper stage and not just sort of a token stage of having one or two or however many young people
We have 3
on stage. That's just a comment I would like to make.
Okay,
Thank you.
No, fine.
Thank you so much for the comment. I want to say that any event should have every representative sitting by the table, because any development, and of course sustainable development, it's an exchange of thoughts, of experience, of energy, and co-creation. So I think, yeah, here it's being fulfilled.
Yeah, I also think that it's fulfilled. Tim was here and he was the third speaker, but we will come also to additional youth perspectives. But now, according to the agenda, we have next Wes Geisenberg, HBAR Foundation, Hedera, blockchain ecosystem, who is also a systemic thinker. And Wes, please.
Absolutely, and I just want to say thank you, Miroslav, for having us. The HBAR Foundation is a proud supporter of the Climate Change Coalition. And for those who don't know about the HBAR Foundation, our Sustainable Impact Funds, we're looking to help bring the balance sheet of the planet to the public ledger. And as part of that, we have 5 goals that we like to help enable, and that involves empowerment of many parties to participate in the process. Those 5 goals are making climate finance auditable, digitizing and open sourcing methodologies so many can participate, and not just the methodology creation process, but methodology review, project data review, in a way that's open and collaborative so we can improve these processes. Of course, as part of that, scaling validation and verification is important of every project in the climate process, not just things like offsets, adaptation credits in the future, biodiversity credits, but also things like emissions measurement projects that are critical to our 1.5 degree goals. Additionally, having a climate credit price, a global credit price that is transparent, where we actually can trace every single trade that is happening, whether it's happening at an international level or a voluntary markets level, we think is important for the transparency and the success of markets in climate activity. And these credits are all digitally enabled with verification that's publicly auditable, with open source methodologies where public can participate and track climate finance. And we get into NDCs or even ESG reporting for companies, that's all available and open for everyone to participate. And as part of what we do, we run a grant fund that supports the adoption of open source solutions, digital public goods, for every step of those 5 goals. So creation of financial instruments, where we can engage with institutional stakeholders, different actors, where we can create methodologies in their digital format natively, so that anyone can participate in the methodology creation process. It's not stuck in an institutional consultant-driven process, but something that can actually work from the ground up for everyone to participate. And one of the things that we want to leave as a call to action as part of this event is for youth to participate. And we work with different folks across communities to build out methodologies or improve methodologies that already exist so that we can get better reviews on what actually works, not just out in the field, but in the academic communities, and point out opportunities to improve in a positive way. We provide resources, of course, to do that. We've had events that the HBAR Foundation sponsored and supported, such as hackathons. Recently, we just we had a hackathon that operated in April, or ended in April, where we gave out rewards for developing net new methodologies that previously weren't digital. And we find other ways to train different parties coming from different perspectives on how to adopt these technologies. We do different enablement sessions where we can do webinars and other capacity building, where we give step-by-step approaches of how to build a methodology that can be adopted to create an environmental project, measure emissions, or take other different steps in improving the digital climate processes. And so we mostly want to invite everyone here to engage with us, find ways to participate, use digital tools as a way to accelerate climate action. And we welcome your participation in our community, the Hedera community, as the HBAR Foundation Sustainable Impact Fund. And we invite anyone who wants to participate to reach out to us on LinkedIn or hbarfoundation.org/apply. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Wes, for your great work and for your cooperativeness. And now to Delphine Magero, Green Youth Climate Fund. What are the resources or kinds of support that young people need in Kenya to be empowered for climate action?
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to congratulate you for starting up for young people. I think we need to encourage young people to be more active or engaged. I am also part of the Yungo network, the Follow Finance and Markets Working Group. So basically, like you said, I founded the Green Youth Climate Fund institution. And like you said, we can't do it without youth. So tomorrow we'll be having Yungo to critique what we have on the table to see how we can go forward together if agreeable, basically. So it's pretty voluntary. So other than that, basically, I'm glad that the speakers online talked about the issue of green jobs, because for us as an institution, we have two key focus programs. So we have the Adaptation for Green Jobs program, apart from the fund, which we're looking to design programs that could help transform the society and the community. So Adaptation for Green Jobs program is basically centered around developing countries like Africa, because we know that Africa has a very large, huge youth population who are unemployed. And then the key thing about Africa, the main priority is adaptation. So how we're trying to bridge the gap, how can adaptation, young people can be involved in adaptation initiatives that in a manner that creates green jobs for young people. So this is something that we're working on basically focused on countries such as Africa. Then we have the Youth for Green Growth program. Like the speakers have said, we have now the concept of just transition basically, because we're looking to have, starting locally, but thinking very ambitious globally. We need to support young people, especially in developed countries who are, let's say, high emitting countries. For example, youth in China, for example, is a very good example. So yes, China is one of the largest pollutants, and how can we basically come in a manner that youth support in the transition, basically? We might not be able to force the government to shut down all the industries, but we can come in to work with young people, especially in countries, high-emitting countries like China, in the transition, so that young people can find some sort of employment or jobs within China to support the transition. So basically looking at what best thing we can do, basically, making the best out of the worst possible situation. So other than that, we are starting locally because we need to coordinate young people. Like you said, you can't work without young people. So we are supposed to start a pilot in Tana River County in Kenya. So what are we going to do? Basically, we're looking to tap into the existing climate financing mechanisms. And in Kenya, we have a very evolved system in terms of we have up to the sub-national climate change funds. So World Bank recently funded sub-national governments to set up climate change funds. So where do we come in? We're looking to set up sort of youth climate finance barazas at the grassroots level. So if you have like 3 barazas in a county like Tana River, then we have mobilized youth enough, capacity build them to a very high extent to be able to approach their county government and demand that 1% of the county climate change fund to go to young people. So we start leveraging on that. And as the youth fund, we look for sources outside from various partners to co-finance that particular mechanism. We're also looking to set up a National Climate Change Council, National Youth Climate Change Council, because Kenya has set up a National Climate Change Fund. So what we're going to coordinate young people, members of parliament, young member of parliament, every stakeholder to go to their national government, Kenya national government, to demand for 2% of the National Climate Change Fund to go to young people. Then we come in to co-finance that, looking to upscale that also to Africa, because AFDB is having the Africa Climate Change Fund. So how can we mobilize young people, rally them, support them, capacity build them to an extent that they can approach the AFDB or whoever is running the Africa Climate Change Fund to give 5% of that fund to go to young people? Then we can go to basically co-finance that with the various partners. And then at the global level, of course, going to have negotiations with UNGO around how can we tap on existing funding like GCF? How can we make GCF work for us? Like you said, nothing for young people. So why are we fighting climate change if not for the young people? So GCF should, very politely, should also work for young people. Currently, it's not working for most countries because it's so technical. It's not working for majority of the countries, especially developing countries. It's supposed to support us. So how can we make GCF work for young people? How can we make GF work for young people? How can the Standing Committee on Finance speak more to the needs of young people? How can everybody ensure that young people are part of the climate finance discussion and not just, being called to rubber stamp in these workshops, in this platform? So how can young people be coordinated enough to be able to demand for existing climate finance? And also how can we partner with the various entities, various people, to be able to enhance what we're already doing and able to collaborate to ensure that young people get to meaningfully participate in climate change? Because young people cannot meaningfully participate in climate change and climate action without access to financing. I'll stop there.
Thank you very much. Now, Caroline Kuba from Climates Austria. You are the UNFCCC Youth Delegation of Austria, visual communication expert, Klimareporterin. Please tell us how you see young people's climate action empowerment.
Well, firstly, thank you for having me on such short notice. So, hello, I am Caroline Kuba. I have a background in design and communication science from Vienna and Boston, and I am the visual communications expert for the UNFCCC Youth Delegation of Austria. The Austrian delegation believes that the translation of the information and decisions made here in the DSB and the COP into something not just understandable but approachable for the youth is something that needs to be taken into account and prioritized when it comes to the making or not making of decisions. Something that will have a vast impact on the life of everyone, something that everyone should be aware of. In order to be involved, the youth needs to be informed. But the subject of climate change can easily be overwhelming and hard to take in. Scientific jargon and complex data may enhance socioeconomic disparities and lead to cognitive dissonance and an inability to approach or partake that results in young people being excluded from something that they will even be more affected by than the generations that came before them. But what can we do? And this is where art comes in. In child psychology, it is a common courtesy to present young patients with pen and paper in order to give them a chance to explain and explore emotions and situations, partially because they are lacking the vocabulary, but also because some things are just too vague, too far off for words to properly portray them. And even older individuals still fall back on Hieronymus Bosch paintings and Huxley's stories and sometimes Disney's Wall-E to make a point that might be gruesome but graspable. Art is something that can be understood. It can be used as a platform and to explain, explore, and most importantly, engage. Turning to the idea of using art to establish abstract ideas around one of the big technological advances of recent times that has been getting more and more traction in the global society has been the public accessibility of AI. These tools use prompts to create pictures that are sourced from parts of pre-existing materials. Not just young people can utilize AI to explore scenarios and ideas and resolve issues of the climate crisis in a very complex but understandable and appealing manner. Just use 5 seconds to imagine what your hometown or city could look like if it was carbon neutral. Not quite 5 seconds, but still. AI can easily assist in visually manifesting this and can be used as a basis to work off of. That being said, it is important to point out that there's quite a bit of controversy and debate concerning AI, like the fact that it replicates part of art that is pre-existent and that there are potential dangers in hyperrealism that it portrays. But in conclusion, implementing art as a tool to inform young individuals about the climate crisis, something they will inevitably have to deal with, can be a big step towards making the crisis approachable, understandable, and allow for early explorations to establish a solution-based mindset, but most importantly, the knowledge of what they have to face. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Caro. And congratulations to Climates. It's really a wonderful organization, and we have also several years of cooperation and also joint side events. And your colleagues Ines from Climates International, when they've seen our plan to have an event about digital art for climate, and so they immediately approached us and said, can we collaborate on this, but they have left already, and very happy to have you from Austria now on our podium. That's great. As you were focusing on art, we would like to call on now Mari Asada, an NFT artist from Japan, who is working on us, with us on our Digital Art for Climate initiative. Mari, could you please join us and say a few words about what you are doing using technology for climate action mobilization? Okay, if there is a connection issue or attention issue, then okay, here we are. Hi, Mari, please.
Mike. Okay. Okay. Sorry. It's a technical issue. Is it okay now?
Yes,
okay.
It is.
I think, okay, great. Sorry about the mic. Is it possible to share the screen or maybe not?
I guess so. You have 3 minutes.
I cannot share my...
Okay.
Okay. Actually, so I have my presentation screen, but I couldn't share. So, okay, I start speaking anyway. So my name is Mari Asada. I'm from Japan. I'm a visual artist and NFT artist. And I become Earth Day Japan Network founding board member recently. And the Earth Day is, as you know, established in 1970, and the day to think and feel and act for Earth. And the Earth Day Japan Network is established as an offshore Japanese subsidiary of earthday.org, and it is a platform to connecting Earth Day movements around the world. So we connect all the Japanese activities all over Japan. Earth Day Japan Network is established in this year, April 22nd. So I want to talk about, because I'm a digital artist, so I want to talk about digital art for climate, Japan. And I participated, thank for Miroslav, I participated in MENA Climate Week last year, April, and in Dubai, and I was participated as a speaker for 3 sessions, and it was a great experience for me. I met a lot of nice people like Alexei and speakers all over from the world, and we were a panel of MENA blockchain work, blockchain for climate, really nice, great woman, female speakers as well. And we talked about how we can contribute climate action. For me, like as a digital artist, So I came to a theme to establish how to establish Digital for Climate Japan. And now I'm a member of Earth Day Network Japan. So I decided to do it as action of Earth Day Japan Network as well. So I suggested to the members and everyone said agreed. So now we are doing Digital for Climate Japan as action of Earth Day Japan Network. Yes, and we'll develop digital tool together with Glocha and join the Digital for Climate global programs and join COP28 in Dubai this year, November and December. We also plan to make Digital for Climate Japan Metaverse Gallery, because I will do 3D graphics and Metaverse as a professional. So yes, and we will also make a Digital for Climate Japan Award, and hopefully we could bring Japanese artists into this into climate action, and globally they can contribute to climate action. So yes, do I still have time? Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you very much,
Okay.
Mari. Great work, and looking forward to collaborate with you and also to see you in Austria at our festival in August, 13th till 20th of August. Thank you very much. And
thank you. I look forward to it. Thank you very much.
And may I call now Raimond van Ermen from the Blockchain 100 Plus initiative. As I said, these are big topics. In order to be transformative, we have to take action on different levels. And a key player, of course, is the UN system. And Raimond's initiative is looking how our solutions can become part of the UN system. So, Raimond, please. 2.5 minutes you have.
Yes, thank you, Miro. I'm pleased to introduce the Blockchain for UN Charter Values and the Sustainable Development Goals initiative. It seeks to build in an ecosystem, a partnership, to prevail transparency, trust, and redistribution of values in support of the UN Charter and the SDGs. BC 100 Plus added value will be to link digital innovation with system leadership in order to bring together practitioners of blockchains and also those dealing with, in the framework of existing platforms, dealing with the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. We have a process in place. Next week, a manifesto will be released. Organizations will be invited to join the process by signing this manifesto, presenting their blockchain initiatives, and on the basis of which we will develop a certain number of flagships. We expect so to be able to contribute to strengthen the multilateral system by using blockchain as a game changer to better address empowerment in view of current and future challenges. And from this standpoint, youth needs to be empowered. We are pleased to have with the Climate Change Coalition as a member of the steering committee, a key player to ensure that this youth agenda be addressed. It will be addressed in the form of a flagship on youth training and empowerment, and which could involve all the initiatives presented today, if so decided. For this to happen, you should sign the manifesto, which will be released next week, and which will be disseminated by Miro, and then discuss with him how you could shape together such a flagship. Over to you, Miro.
Thank you very much, Raimond. And perhaps also to explain why we have a little bit of a shortage of time, we've had two side event applications, one with the Youth Climate Action Empowerment focus and one on digital innovation. And in the end, both got declined. And we've got only a few days ago then the notification that the youth empowerment one is confirmed, and then we've pulled also those who have been with us applying for the other event. So therefore, it is a little bit crowded on this side event, but we have another presentation, and it's a very important one because it's our digital solution provider partner from the UAE, Mohammed Al-Hashimi from Islamic Coin, is doing also collaborating with universities and all the relevant partners in the UAE to, and here you have also funding, as I understand. Let's see how we can channel these financial resources to youth climate action. Over to you.
Yes, of course. Thank you very much, Miroslav. And I was actually glad that we participated together last year in COP27 and looking forward to do great and amazing participation together with you in COP28. So I will make it very, very, very short. I'm Mohammed. I'm artificial intelligence engineer. I'm a founder of Hack Blockchain and Islamic Coin. So how we think we can help the youth developing an amazing projects and products for the climate change. I think we should start from the challenges where the youth actually facing challenge to be technology enabled. So they need a technology platform that supports them to build on their projects. And they need, on the other hand, ROI or return of investment booster, where it makes their projects attractive to the people to put the funding. And then on the third vertical, they need actually a fund to help them to start and do these projects. And how we solve this, actually, we have Hack Blockchain. It's a blockchain that focuses and built on ethics and values of the Sharia. So it accepts only projects that reflects with a very positive impact on the community. So this is under Hack Association, which is a nonprofit organization, and we did it like this to provide it with almost no cost to the community and to the youth to build their projects. So please feel free to use the blockchain to put on your projects. It is Ethereum compatible. It's a layer 1 protocol, and it uses Cosmos. And to keep the environment of the blockchain clean with the nice project. So every project will be onboarded. It will pass through 2 stages of voting. First voting is the community has to vote for the project. And second part is the board has to vote for it. So after it passed the community voting, it goes to the board just to make sure this is reflecting with a positive impact on the community. So with this way, we enabled the youth and the people who want to build technology projects with a very smart and ethics-based blockchain. On the other hand, how to help them to have a very nice return of investment, maybe by tokenizing their projects or by reaching out to the community and traffic. We are at the moment having almost 2 million community, and it's keeping increasing day after day. So this community will help them, and they're all focusing on ethics and values and positivity to the community will help them to have a very high return of investment. And on the other hand, we have the Evergreen DAO. So on the blockchain, we have built the Islamic coin, where 10% of every minted coins goes to Evergreen DAO, and this DAO will use it to fund the technology for the community. So they can definitely apply for the DAO to get funded. They go for the first phase again for the community to vote for their projects, that this project is desired and likable by the community, and then it goes to the board, and then they get the fund. So this is as simple as I can describe it. I will not take more than from your time. Thank you for listening, and hope to collaborate together in future.
Thank you very much, Mohammed, and I really hope that we will be able to make the connection between your pot of financial resources and your technological solutions and tool and the young people's projects on the ground all around the world. Thank you very much for being with us. And now we have a few minutes for interaction here. Who would like to share some thoughts, criticism? Another one for you. Okay, then go ahead.
I hope it's clear to me, or I hope it's clear to you that I'm not critiquing the work you do. I think the work you do is very important. But I just want to ask all of you to very honestly ask yourselves in the work that you do and the way you, host plenaries, the way you select which groups to ask about the projects you do, whether youth and citizens' climate action empowerment is actually something that you mean in a serious way, or in a way that's mostly used because it sounds very good, and I'm sure it gets more easily approved for side events if youth is in the title. Again, I don't mean this to offend anyone. I think you're doing some very constructive work, all of you. But we've listened to many solutions that I think ultimately, I'm not sure how many young people actually reached by these solutions day to day. That's something I'm unsure of. And I think also coming back to your comment, when you see young climate activists from around the globe, and there are many here at this conference, honestly, I don't think that the challenge that they face is that they can't put their own motivation into entrepreneurial ideas. The challenges are way different. The challenges are, as some of you have outlined, as you have outlined as well, not having the financial resources to do so, not having the financial resources to maybe even be at this conference. And so I think that's why it's so important that the way that we, build up plenaries, the way that podiums are made up of, this tells a lot about who is actually sitting at the table, who is actually making these decisions. And that's something we see at this climate change conference generally, that the people most impacted by these decisions aren't usually sitting at the table. And I would just like to maybe ask for the next side event that you host to look into how your podiums are made up and maybe have more youth speaking there and speak on the projects you do. Okay. Thanks.
Could you also say your name and organization?
Yeah, sure. I'm David, and I'm one of the youth delegates for Austria. COP.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any further comments, advice, suggestions? Somebody from the Teams call, virtual participants, if somebody would like to say a few words. Sarah, would you like?
Yeah, why not? I'll jump straight in. And I think it's a very fair set of comments, and we do a lot of work with minoritized communities and with youth communities in the UK and across the world, and I think you're absolutely right. The other thing we haven't really talked about is Indigenous knowledge, and we talk a lot to our members outside the UK and the Global South who feel that they're being told what to do, and often their communities quite understand the solutions. It's just they don't have the financial power or the skills and training in order to implement some of that knowledge. What I can say, some of the stuff we're doing, starting in the UK, but we hope to internationalise it. We're working with a couple of organisations to develop pre-university training, so between 16 and 18-year-olds, often who, particularly in not kind of affluent communities, who want to get involved in sustainability but can't. And I was one of those people, admittedly many years ago, but I came from a very poor community in the UK, and it was just completely out of my reach. And so we're trying to make sure that people who don't have the money, can't do unpaid internships, can't travel, can get access to sustainability skills and knowledge, which we're going to do as a free service as part of this extra qualification for 14 to 16-year-olds. We want to develop that further. We've just launched a Green Careers Hub, which is free, again, to anyone who wants to have a look at the website, which gives you an idea of the sort of jobs that are out there, the sort of skills and training that you would need, and the sort of salaries that you would get. All of that is free content that we've put together, and hopefully that will help people starting out in their careers who are really keen and passionate and getting involved to help them on their journey. But it is a very, very fair comment. We try and do as much as we can to engage all our members from 16, 17 onwards, but it is difficult sometimes when people don't have the money and don't have the resources to do so.
Bravo, thank you very much for sharing this. Any concluding remarks? We have reached the end time of our event, but I guess a few minutes we could spare. Alexei?
Yeah, concluding remarks and maybe the answer to your quote would be that, you know, there are many opportunities, and the biggest opportunities are inside us, in our mindset. So it's very important to change the mindset first, you know, and then go for the opportunities. Because even at our round table, we announced several things, you know, where you could get financing, you could get support, you can get knowledge. So even here, we mentioned some opportunities, but there are many, many more. And like Bob Marley said, the first thing to getting those opportunities is to emancipate yourself from mental slavery. And that would be my message to everyone who wants to be a very active participant of this process, and especially youth, of course. Thank you.
Bravo. Carol?
Me?
No.
Yeah, okay. Well, I had it in me to turn this on, which also, I believe, was due to my mindset. And well, I think it's great, and I agree that this is a great space, and that it's amazing that so many options were listed here. But again, as it has been pointed out, I don't believe it all comes down to mindset, but to many outside factors. But mindset is, of course, important to respond to this. Yeah.
Thank you. Wes?
Let's say there's many resources out there, and how we spend our time's important. You know, taking advantage of some of the opportunities that were laid out here is, you know, now on the table for anyone to look at, whether it's the resources that we can provide financially, in training, or in connectivity, connecting to different groups and organizations that will help enable youth to be at the table, to use digital solutions to change some of the outcomes. And sometimes what we need to do to change mindsets, not just here in this room, in this side event, but to change outlooks for folks who are at the negotiating table, is to show what those opportunities are. And oftentimes our digital solutions can open people's mindsets, because some things can't be seen until we can put it in front of them. And so taking advantage of the resources that are out there, beyond just the financial ones, I think is equally important to the ones that, you know, the opportunities that we have, you heard about from the financial perspective.
I think for me, concluding, I can say something that someone really senior once told me. He said, money flows in partnerships, so be open to partnerships, because you can't do it alone. The more partners you have, the better. And also flows in technology and innovation. The third one I forgot. But I think partnership, innovation, and technology, that's all you need to have. My takeaway. Thank you.
So thank you very much. Thanks again to all our co-organizers, IAAI, IEMA, University of Massachusetts, Lowell, Climate Change Coalition, UNEUM Research, Global Youth Development Institute. I hope we have added some value to the SB 58 and to youth climate action empowerment on a global level.
Thank you, Miroslav, for the great and inclusive event.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been great. Thank you.